Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Let's take a look at XRP to see what's going on. We actually got a pretty good little situation here. In other words, we were consolidating nicely above our local high, retested that little range at about 207 one time. I didn't quite pull back to this $2 range. I was hoping for an entry in like the 2 to 205 area, but at this point we may need to wait to see that happen. Now, you got to keep in mind, Bitcoin's slightly retracing in its range of 83 to 85K. And if it does pull back to this low 83K range, it may be a good consideration to take along with XRP, depending on how it's performing contrary to that. But you got to recognize when you look at altcoins, folks, you don't just blindly jump in because it's your favorite coin. You want to make sure you understand how well it's performing versus Bitcoin. And XRP is ranging similar to Bitcoin, but also performing better in the overall ascending trend is short-term ascending trend. So for the most part, XRP appears to be in pretty good shape, but we're going to look at some macro structures to see if that's shifted at all. And also liquidation here. A quick way to identify is we got liquidation above and below the price. This happens a lot when you channel. So we're in a range between just say 218 and roughly 207. So that 10-cent range is effectively creating liquidation above and below the price. So it doesn't tell us a ton, but it does tell us there's more liquidation on the upside, more people trying to short this coin than take alongs, which is sensible in the current market conditions. But if you look at this liquidation delta, we're still in the green. So for the most part, we haven't shifted bearish whatsoever. So until that dynamic shifts, it's important to recognize that there's more bulls than bears in play here in the last 7 days worth of trading. Now we take a look at open interest. There's a lot of open interest at 208, as low as $2, even a heavy concentration at 194. So there's a ton of support between now and just say the low $2 range to kind of reinforce the support below us and just kind of help us understand that if we pull back, there's a decent chance that this $2 level will hold. It was supposed to work as a resistance, but we can see we retested multiple times, broke free from it, and hypothetically now we come down here and take off from there, okay? So let's take a look at the weekly time frame, kind of get some perspective here. So it's good to always kind of reevaluate the macro, kind of see what's going on now that the weekly candlestick is closed. And we didn't have a full-on bullish engulfing candle from last week, but if you include today's price action, so far we are engulfing that, if you will. So that really just implies that this, last week's worth of trading was roughly the same as the previous week, therefore reinforcing we're starting to see some bottom potential. It's very similar to doji candles where you open and close at the same time. Or same price point rather. But everything here for the most part is looking pretty solid. I don't like that the money flow index is below the RSI. That usually shows a little bit of weakness, implies there's less volume now than there was prior. But that's normal when you have such a monumental increase. So it's kind of a false positive there. But for the most part, we're below that moving average. So it's just overall not a phenomenal situation here. We're still respecting our descending trend line too and haven't broken free from that. And if you look here, you look a little closer, you can kind of see the candle wick from yesterday hit that 225 mark to reject off that 50-day SMA, which is just it's a common characteristic, if you will, okay? So what this basically tells us here, and keep in mind, daily timeframes are very messy on most charts, but the thing that's consistent is the descending trend and being below the 50-day SMA. And we're still seeing that. So we haven't broken bullish. I don't think we're back on track completely yet. Even if we were, we still got a lot of resistance at this 240. Let me double check here. From a macro perspective, yeah, 241 is that heavy resistance. So if you're going to insist on taking a long, don't be a long idiot that takes a long to $4, $5, $6. You want to take a long to like the 239, 238 range, just below that macro point of control, because that's where a lot of volume is averaged out, and that basically implies that we're going to see some selling pressure when we get there. But from a daily perspective, there's some good stuff here. We're retesting 50 on the RSI. Money flow index is above the RSI, which is very good. We're over that moving average. These are all signs you don't see on other charts, really. Now, it's not something to attach yourself to, because you got to recognize we're still in a descending trend. But minus the descending trend, we're seeing some good indications on the daily time frame that most other altcoins don't have. And you got to recognize, I analyze probably 10, 20, 30 charts a day. And for the most part, this coin is performing better in the overall circumstance there, okay? So pending Bitcoin doesn't dump to sub 83,000, I think we're going to see some good price action here. What I'm hoping for is we do see 83,000 from Bitcoin, so we can get in at the 205, 210 mark for XRP and take a long back up to that potential point of control right now, like the 230, 240 range. Okay. Either way, 4-hour time frame is showing good. It's a good and bad. And let me explain here. First of all, we got a divergence, of course, on the stochastic. We can see the RSI and the money flow index are kind of compressing, getting close together. We're still over 50, but we're seeing the shift in momentum from the RSI and the money flow index. But more importantly, we're below that moving average. So oftentimes when you're below, you see the price go down, and when you're above, you see the price go up. Okay, so we're looking for the price to be above the moving average here, hopefully in the relative near future. That's usually what I like to look for continuation type of patterns. When we look at Ichimoku Cloud, we can confirm on the hourly time frame that we are still remaining above, but we're getting kind of close to breaking below. So if we don't leg up here soon, I think that $2 range would seem like a very practical consideration. So overall, I think the macro is looking pretty decent, but smaller time frames concurrent with Bitcoin in a lot of ways here are letting us know we may see a short-term pullback to before the next leg up. Okay, so it's really common too to see the price action like this here kind of compress, and then we're likely to see a manipulative wave. This comes down typically to retest the local highs, and then at this point, hypothetically, we're going to be looking for a nice long in that lower range there, closer to $2 for that expansive wave. Okay, this is commonly referred to as a power of 3. Okay, so this generally is what we're looking for. It's happened quite a few times actually. Last month we had 3 of these patterns on Bitcoin alone. So just know manipulation is a very common thing in trading right now, and I wouldn't be surprised we're working ourselves into this kind of channel. All right, folks, hope that makes sense. I described it correctly. You learned something today, comment below, let me know. I love to hear it. Don't forget to join us on Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. Discord is pretty active, which I love. And then also, too, keep in mind, we took some nice profits on a Bitcoin short over the weekend. But you want to make sure you secure profits on trades because if you're working too long of margins, you're going to get stopped out. And I think it's important to recognize that, profit is profit. You can never be profitable if you don't take profit. It's just kind of crazy. It's a crazy thought, I know. Anyways, we'll look forward to working with you. Have yourself a good rest of the day. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much again. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.